Today we're recreating a virtual instrument in Google Slides. So we're going to create a virtual instrument inside of Google Slides. We're starting with a very blank project. This is what it looks like when you start a new file. And the first thing I'm going to do is just get rid of what they give us. Now, this is where all the creativity happens. Drawing the instrument. Today I'm creating a Jumbie Jam. It's a G major scale steel pan. And I know for you or for anybody watching this, you might be making a more complex instrument, maybe even a smaller, maybe an easier instrument to create. But the drawing factor is the creative part. That's the part that maybe takes the most mind power. Luckily for me, everything is circle, so I'm just gonna keep on hitting, create a shape, circle, I'm gonna create some ovals. The Jumbie Jam has 8 possible notes, so I need 8 slides to link them to. We're gonna go blank, and then I'm gonna hit the plus sign to make sure there's 8 blank slides. And I'm not gonna paste the Jumbie Jam on those slides yet. I'm actually gonna create all the links first, so that way I don't have to create the links over and over again. So our first note is gonna be a G, and this, when I right click, there's gonna say a link. And slides in this presentation is the first option. Slide 1. This is going to create a problem in the future, but we're not going to worry about that yet. The second note, so this takes a little bit of working understanding of the instrument you're creating. I know A is here, which is going to be slide 2. So I'm going to right click, link, slides in this presentation, slide 2. All right, apply. If you just click out and you don't click apply, it just undoes everything you just did. Now I'm ready to copy and paste. I can hit Control A, or I could drag a square over to grab all of it. Control C grabs it, and I can just go to slide 2 and hit Control V, slide 3, Control V, and so on until all 8 are out there. Now, before we celebrate too much, there is a problem. In slide 1, G links to slide 1. In slide 2, G now links to slide 2. So it's more of like a variable. It doesn't treat it like it's always the slide 1. It treats it like it's the current slide. So what we have to do is actually go back now and change all of the G's, our low G, back to slide 1. The nice part is that we can now, instead of doing that process 6 more times, we could go back, delete G, and paste. So I'm gonna go back, slide 4, delete G, which is again linked to slide 4. It's not what we want. Delete, Control V replaces it with the G to slide 1. This is just part of, if we did not copy and paste and we went slide by slide, it would still take much longer than this process. And we're done. So now I could do the presentation, but we can't tell what note we're on. If I were to present and click around, we have no idea if we're on the right slide or not. So what we need to do is maybe label our notes. I can go over here, I have G selected, and you can select any color. Let's say bright red. So my G slide is bright red, my A slide, I need to turn A bright red, and so on. So now that each slide has an individual red note, I can watch the presentation, and when I click on a circle, that circle turns red. Now that all of our navigation is exactly where we want it, we need to add audio to make it sound like an instrument. A little bit of work that you're going to have to put in outside of Google Slides is getting samples of the sounds. So whatever sound you want the virtual instrument to make, you need to have an individual recording of each note. So let's say you're doing a 3-piece drum set, a bass drum, a snare, and a hi-hat. You would need an individual bass sample by itself, an individual snare drum sample, and an individual hi-hat sample. The next part is you have to upload it into the same Google Drive as the Google account that you're using in Slides. So let's say you're using your work Gmail account right now, you would have to upload the audio into your work Google Drive. So when I go to insert audio, by default, it looks straight into my drive. Because these are the most recent things that I've uploaded, they're at the top of my list. So I have my low G MP3. It's in the corner, that's great, but what's most important now are the settings. To start playing, I do not want the students to have to click that speaker. I want it to happen automatically. I'm going to go down to the A and continue this process for the next 7 slides. Now is the moment of truth. I've given every slide an audio sample. I've made the settings correct to start right when the slide starts. When I hit present, I should hear a low G. There's a bit of a delay on the first note, but once they load, they respond faster. All right, we have a working Jumbie Jam. From this point forward, it's very much up to your needs of what would you like to do? How do you want to label your instrument? You may be in a position where you have older students and you don't need labels. You might be in a situation where you'd like to put a letter over every circle, and you very well can. When I created the first version of the Jumbie Jam, I made a letter index over here on the side. And the reason was there might be students that don't know where their letters are, which of course you could just label the circle. But my second thought was a lot of our students are already linear based learners. They either have xylophone experience, piano experience, where notes go left to right or they go high to low. The Jumbie Jam is definitely a circular experience. Actually, it's more of like a triangle because it goes across the pan always. Whatever. But students can understand that we start high and we descend. And so I just tried to create a visual representation of what the notes sound like and the order they're in, and then visually they can see where that is on the pan. If you have young learners, you might benefit from the same thing. Now that your project is labeled the way you like it, how do we get this in front of students? We're gonna go to File and Publish to the web. And then when I hit Publish, it says, are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. And then it gives you a link. We're gonna ignore that for now and go straight to Embed. We're gonna change our embed to every minute, and we're not gonna click either of these. You can copy and paste this code, and now I'm gonna head over to Canvas. We're now looking at my real Canvas page. I wanna edit this using HTML. When I first hit edit, it takes me to a place where I can see everything in a pretty normal format. We're gonna look for this button right here that says switch to HTML editor. Once we get here, we see a very cool looking HTML editor. We want to go to the raw HTML editor. Once we see black and white text just like this, I can hit Control V and paste all the code from Google Slides right in. When I hit save, I can scroll down to the bottom and there's my new presentation. Now stop what you're doing. This next step is so important. I learned this the hard way. I shared my finished product with a convention online and everyone was excited to get into it, and then the permission nightmares started. I made my original document on my school's Google Drive, and so the permissions from other school districts started to come in. Not only did I have to give permission for the Google Slides, but you must give permission for every sample. For instance, if I skip the step where I give access to the audio, I will just hear nothing. When I hover over the speaker, I see you need permission to play this file, request access. I have all of my samples in one folder, Jumbie Notes. When I right click, I'm gonna hit share. Right here, it says restricted. We need to change that to anyone with a link. It is now anyone with a link can be a viewer, and we're done. Now that I've changed the permissions on the folder containing all of the samples, when I go back to my embedded file, all of the audio works. And in order to figure this out, I had to log in from 2 accounts. If you're just on your own account, you're gonna grant yourself permission. Of course, it knows it's you. It's very important you check from another account, whether it's a personal account, if you have another coworker, just try and access it for you. If you have a trusted student that can try it for you, but just find out what doesn't work before you send it to the masses so you do not get 500 emails. I hope you learned something, but more importantly, I hope you're now thinking of something that did not even cross my mind, something I couldn't even fathom. So let me know in the comments if you had a breakthrough, and I hope to hear from you and see you in the future. Have a good one. Goodbye.